Over the past few months, I've heard from a lot of people who say that they basically do not believe their government hears them, that no one's listening in Washington, D.C. It's understandable. A lot of people feel beaten down with all the things we've seen, especially since 9/11, the assault on our civil liberties, all the things that went on during the administration of George W. Bush, and now we've got this horrendous financial collapse and people are out on the streets, and most people know all the problems that we're facing. People feel beaten down, but what I tell people is, and we all experience this, is that it's not a time to be helpless or to feel helpless. We forget that the United States started with a revolution. That ragtag band of people who in their day felt it was quite helpless said they'd had enough. So what they decided to do, they resisted. And thankfully, there are more and more people doing that these days. There is a groundswell out there of people who have said enough's enough, and they're doing something about it. In more than 40 cities across the country, people have started Tea Party protests. They're not throwing tea in the ocean as the old revolutionaries did, but they're getting on the steps of City Hall and they're saying enough's enough. And they're trying to make their local officials hear them and their national officials. And now they're planning a national tax party day protest that will hopefully get someone's attention in Washington, D.C. Thousands have now gathered in Washington, D.C. To protest the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And this is to be the first time that actually protesters have gathered together under the administration of Barack Obama, again trying to be heard. Then there's this amazing woman, Concepcion Pinchata, who since the Reagan administration years has been sitting across from the White House conducting a silent peace vigil against war. This lady has lasted through Reagan, Bush 1, Clinton, Bush 2, and now Barack Obama. She's been spat at, yelled at, and even arrested, but she continues to sit out there. We need more fighters like Concepcion Pinchata. And there's a long history of protest. In 1932, World War I veterans gathered in Washington, D.C. They had destitute families. They hadn't been paid their bonuses. 43,000 of these people camped out, these veterans, in a tent city and protested. The government got heavy-handed. Herbert Hoover sent in troops and dispersed them. A year later, they came back, and they eventually got the GI Bill of Rights. We can't forget the great civil rights movement with Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and other tireless African-American leaders. What Martin Luther King understood was that governments are reactive, they're not proactive. You got to nudge them, you got to get their attention. So they got in the streets, the African Americans, and they got their equal rights. So what can you do? What are some practical steps the average citizen can take? Well, as anyone who knows, who has read any of the surveys, most Americans don't have any idea about their rights. They don't even know what's in the First Amendment. They've never read the Bill of Rights. They don't know what's in the Bill of Rights. And my point is this: you have to educate yourself. Without education, you cannot have effective action. You've got to know what your rights are. And it's easy, folks. You can go on our website at rutherford.org/Constitution and read the Bill of Rights. It's succinctly set out there. Or if you want a copy to carry with you, email me at johnw@rutherford.org and I'll send you a copy of our Bill of Rights pamphlet. These little things are dynamite. I mean, you can take them to City Hall, you can take them to your local city councilor, you can take them to Congress and pass them out. Tell your congressman to read them. All polls show that most of our elected officials don't even know the Bill of Rights. The point is, it starts here, folks. It starts with you knowing your rights. And Samuel Adams, the great firebrand revolutionary, says, go out and start brush fires for freedom. If we don't do that, the hour grows late. It's the midnight of America right now. And the question is, will there be a dawn? The future is in our hands.